Imposter syndrome happens when there is self doubt, when you wonder if you are the right person to be doing that job. And you sometimes feel like a fraud, thinking that you're not qualified to be doing what you're doing. And the other end of the spectrum, there is self trust. And self trust is when you know what you are doing and you are confident in the work that you do, and you know that you are the right person to be doing this job. So, in today's episode, what I want to explore is really these two different spectrum. Like, what are the thoughts behind imposter syndrome, and how can you go from this end of the spectrum to the other end of the spectrum where you really ground yourself and build that self trust in the work that you do. Welcome back to another episode of Small Girl Big Talk. My name is Wendy, and this podcast is a space where real conversations meet personal growth. It has been a while since I put on my podcasting mic and put on this setup because I have been showing up in a different form where I'm educating a lot more about how I organize my digital space. And for videos like that, it's a lot more visual. Like I have to run you through my screens and show you how I get things done. But today I really want to get back to the basics of mindset because I realized that a lot of the struggles that we face in our 20s, in our 30s, a lot of it is on the fear of how people are going to judge us. Like a lot of it is in our head. And I want to get back to the basics of mindset shifts. And something that I've learned along the way is that imposter syndrome is not just about a mindset thing, but it's also a nervous system thing. And that's what we'll be discovering today. So let's get back to imposter syndrome first. I think when you are struggling with imposter syndrome, the biggest thing is you really feel like you are not qualified to be doing the work that you are doing. And whenever you have such self doubt, right, your first instinct is to look for answers outside. Because growing up, that is how we have been learning. That is how we have been solving problems. When you don't know something, you go to someone else, you go to a teacher and learn something, or you search for your answers online. And I feel like in today's world, when there are so many resources made available for us, it makes it a lot more easier for us to just keep going outwards to look for our answer. And the easiest example that I can think of is that a lot of us are spending a lot of time going back and forth with ChatGPT about the things that we are unsure of. Whether it's ChatGPT or Claude or whatever AI tool it is, when you are going back and forth asking questions to ChatGPT, when you are doubting yourself, you are actually just spiraling in a loop of talking about your insecurities and having ChatGPT to reassure you on certain insecurities that you have, and you just keep going on and on and on. And on the other hand, there are some of you, when you are insecure about something, you just feel like, okay, I need to take another course. I need to read another book. I need to learn more about this topic before I can do the actual thing because you feel like you don't know everything. And one more example of ways that you might be going outwards is like you keep scrolling on social media, looking for the next tip, looking for the next hack. Or maybe you are going through your competitor's page or maybe your favorite guru's page and scrolling through every tips and lessons that you have to learn about what you should be doing, when in fact, what you are doing at this point of your life, you are just looking outwards for all the answers and not actually doing the work. And when you are just going on and on and on, finding out the next right thing to be doing, you are just constantly perpetuating this thought that you don't know what you are doing and you feel more insecure about where you are. And unconsciously, it became a loop of insecurities where you felt insecure. You go learn more about the things that you felt like you should be learning, and you realize that you don't know more. And then you feel even more insecure, and then you keep learning and learning and learning. And you just end up in this loop of insecurities. And the imposter syndrome would still remain because you are still not doing the work at this point. But how can you then escape this loop and actually step into that grounded version of you that can actually trust yourself and do the work. Now, I want to paint a picture for you first. I want you to first see it that a wise leader or a wise role model that you have, I want you to think about that person first. Whether it's an animation character like Master Wu Gui from Kung Fu Panda, or like Albus Dumbledore in Harry Potter, or maybe it's a boss or a manager that you really respect. I want you to think about this person because chances are a good leader that you always respect and admire, the qualities that they have is that they are very calm, they are grounded, they are understanding, like they have very high EQ. And when it comes to times of crisis or times when they get distressed themselves, they are able to deal with it with a lot of grounded presence and be like, okay, this is the situation, but what can we do now? How can we actually solve this problem? So if you really think about these good leaders, right, a lot of it, it's more so about how they show up and how they are able to deal with stressful situations or how they are able to really face problems with a lot of calm and grounded presence. And so that is what we want to achieve now because when you have imposter syndrome, when you are doubting yourself, there is this loop in your brain that is going on, putting yourself kind of in like a fight or flight mode because you feel like you don't know what you're doing, and then you are feeling stressed, and then you feel like you're in danger, and then you are scared. Like your mind is really scattered, right? There's a lot of noises in your head. So the first thing that you want to do whenever you find yourself to be falling into that loop again is to actually just slow down your breath and calm down first so that you can actually activate the parasympathetic nervous system to really slow down and get back to a rest and relaxed state. Because when you are able to slow down your breath, you are telling your heartbeat to also go slower. You are telling your nervous system to actually slow down and remind your brain that you are actually not in danger, that it is all in your head that you are in this anxious state, that the problems are all things that are not truly happening, but they are just scenarios that you are worried about, that you are concerned about. And when you are able to really calm down and slow down your nervous system, that's when your prefrontal cortex, that is in charge of rational thinking, that is doing all the decision making, can actually be performing at its best. You can see things really rationally and make the best decisions for whatever it is that you are doing. And when everything has slowed down, you would also want to consciously unplug yourself from all of the noises. Put your phone on do not disturb mode. Turn off all the chatter. Put on a noise cancelling earphones. Listen to just ambient music or nature sound, or just get comfortable with the silence and start having conversations with yourself. And I find that journaling or reflecting on a blank document, it's always the easiest because if you really want to learn to trust yourself, you need to learn to have conversations with yourself. And when you are writing these thoughts out, it really helps you to have a better idea of how are your thoughts going and how can you really dissect all of the thoughts that you have. And so here are a few kind of like journal prompts or thoughts that I want to invite you to visit whenever you are trying to ground yourself and to build that self-trust. The first thing is to really ask yourself, why are you doing these things that you are trying to do? Say you want to be a content creator or you are starting a business by yourself. Ask yourself, is it because you are really passionate about cooking? That's why you are starting a cooking YouTube channel? Or if you are starting a business and it's a coaching business, is it because you want to help people and to actually help them to achieve the results that they want? Be very clear of why you are doing what you are doing, because that is going to tell you that, okay, this is why I'm doing this thing. Like it is out of a good intention. I am going to help someone doing these things that I'm doing. And sometimes it might not be as selfless. It might really be as simple as I love fashion and I want to make more fashion videos. And it's okay because who else to make better fashion videos than someone who is really passionate about fashion and love all about it and is excited to share more about this fashion styling with the world. That is also okay. It doesn't have to be super selfless, but know why you are doing what you are doing first. So that's the first thing that I want to invite you to ask yourself. And then once you have a clear idea of why you are doing what you're doing, the next thing that I want you to think is then if I successfully achieve this, what are the good things that will happen out of this? So if you've successfully put out multiple videos and grown your channel, what is the good thing that will come out of this? If you have successfully grown your business and have multiple clients, what is the good thing that will come out of this? The idea is that you want to have the picture of how success will look like for you. Because when you are in the loop of self doubt and in the loop of imposter syndrome, a lot of times you are focusing on the what ifs. And the what ifs that you are focusing on, it's all on like the negative side. Like, what if I fail? What if people call me out for being a fraud? What if I got canceled? Like, you are focusing a lot on the negative what ifs. And now I want you to switch it over to the positive what ifs. What if my YouTube channel blow up and I actually get to do this full time, sharing about my passion in fashion? What if I actually get to help tens and hundreds of clients and actually help them to transform from being someone who is really not confident to be someone that is really confident? And what if I can make hundreds and thousands of dollars doing what I love and that becomes my new career? Whatever it is that you choose to do, there are always many possibilities on how things can turn out. And instead of focusing on the negative, you really want to train your brain to look at the positive because there are a lot of possibilities on how things can work out well for you. And a lot of the time, things happen in ways that we don't expect. And more than half of the time, the things that happen out of our expectations are actually better than what we thought they would be. So that's kind of like a reconditioning that you want to help your brain to really see the good in it. And once you are able to really focus on the good, the next thing then is to ask yourself, what is the next small step that I can take to move myself closer to where I want to be? Because a lot of times when we think about the dreams that we have, they are always very big and feels like it is very far ahead. And sometimes when it's so far ahead, it felt impossible that we end up just being paralyzed at where we're at because we feel like it's impossible to get there. So the key is really to focus on the next step and then the next step. And then you just keep on going and going. Because when you start doing the work, when you start moving one step closer, you are closing the gap of where you want to be versus where you are right now. And you need to understand that growth is not a linear thing. It's not that you take one step today and another step today and you will get there. Quite often, the small steps that you take today might feel very insignificant, but they really compound as time passes. Like, you will be surprised just by posting that one video today, it can change the entire trajectory of your life in the next year. It really is possible. And once you get used to slowing down, ground yourself back to your present and trusting yourself in this next step that you are taking and actually doing it, get used to also evaluating your own performance. Yes, there will be times where the decision that you make might be wrong, but then you will learn from your mistake and then you will figure out what the next step is. Self trust is like a muscle. The more you learn to trust yourself, the more you are able to trust yourself. Because with every decision that you make, even though there are times that the decision is wrong or not the best decision, if you are making decision from a grounded and safe space where you have learned to calm yourself down first, chances are the decision that you make at that point is the best decision out of all the options that you have. And when you learn to do it more and more, you really start to tune into yourself and hear your own voice and realize that, hey, actually, yeah, I actually have the power to make the right decision for myself. A lot of time people talk about having that intuition and leaning in and tune into yourself. This is what they mean. It's not that you have the power to do it immediately, but it's like something that the more you do it, the more you can actually grasp it better in your hand. So it is something that at the start of it, you will kind of doubt yourself. You will be unsure because it is out of your comfort zone. It is something that your brain is not familiar with because your brain was used to looking for answers from the outside, out from everybody. But if you really want to build that self trust and that self belief, you really need to learn to come back to this, come back to yourself, and to start building this self trust muscle and to do it again and again and again. If you really think about it, like it's the same when it comes to trusting a friend as well. When you first meet this person, you don't know who exactly they are or where they're coming from. So you are not sure if you can trust them. But as you trust them to meet you up in person for the first time and they show up on time, you feel like, okay, I can trust this person. And then if you trust them to help you to place order for your food and not run away with your money and they come back again, you're like, okay, I can trust them. And then the more you get to know the person, the more you trust them and you feel like, okay, this is someone that I can trust my life with. It's the same thing with yourself. I feel like getting out of your imposter syndrome and building your self trust is a lot about building a relationship with yourself. And like the more you come back to yourself and have conversations with yourself and trust yourself in all the decisions that you make for yourself, because you got to know this, only you know what you want and only you know what's the best for you. And whenever you make decision that is based on the best intention for yourself, you will come to notice that it is always the best thing for yourself. And that is when you can build that kind of confidence in knowing that whatever it is that you are doing is the best for yourself. So I'm just gonna share a little bit of how my entrepreneurship journey has been for me so far, to kind of like wrap up today's episode. And it's like at the early stages of my entrepreneurship journey, I was looking outwards a lot. I have business mentors that I was constantly asking questions and seeking for their advice on how I should move on. And I was having a lot of conversations with Claude and ChatGPT on what I should be doing. And I was scrolling a lot on Instagram. Like all of the examples that I gave you were all from my personal example. And at the early stages of all of it, when I was just doubting myself and just looking outwards, making sure that I wasn't doing anything wrong, those were the time when there was the most chatter in my head, questioning myself and not actually moving forward in my business. But when I finally learned to just calm my nervous system down first, to really reassure myself that, hey, we are okay and we are in a safe space. And when I start making decision out of a safe space instead of out of fear, the decisions that I make are constantly taking me to a place where I am closer to my goal, where I am closer to my dream, because opportunity starts opening up when I'm doing the right thing that I'm doing for myself. And at this moment of my life, I feel like there are so many uncertainty in my business journey, but I also know that whatever it is that I'm doing today, it is the best decision that I'm taking for my business. And if you were listening to just a few episodes ago when I told you about I just quit my job and I'm planning to show up weekly on my podcast. And then if you really look at my track record and you realize that the last podcast that I recorded was a month ago, yeah, because back then I was coming out of fear and I was like, okay, this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna show up consistently. I'm gonna do this, 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 this. And of course, in an ideal world, I would be able to show up on my podcast on a weekly basis and still get everything going. But the reality is, I am building a business from scratch. And there are different priorities now as opposed to just showing up consistently on my podcast, which used to be like my signal for success in terms of my podcast. But now I know what I care more about is my audience journey. It is my client's journey. And I want to have a way that I can serve them beyond more than what I can provide you here in my podcast. And in the process of doing that, I have to prioritize revenue generating activity. I have to prioritize content that can help me convert better to the products that I'm selling. And that's why I've been posting more on like YouTube with like more visual videos over just podcast, because podcast itself, like audio itself, is not able to help me educate my audience with all the digital stuff. And there are different intention of different posts, right? So I guess that's where I'm kind of at. Like I'm just showing consistently. Every week I will put up a long form video. That's like my target. But in what form, it really depends on the intention of the post. And it's on how can I best give my audience the best result. And then that's how I decide on which medium it will be. And at the moment, I am planning to kind of mix a little bit of both. I will have more YouTube videos for more visual learnings, but there are always going to be like mindset talks and all that, that's more conversational basis, because I also feel like audio form, it's an easier way for you to consume because you can listen to this when you are doing your house chores or commuting to work and stuff like that. So I'm still trying to do more of this as much as I can, but that is where I'm at now. Like I don't doubt myself or feel like an imposter for making decision that doesn't align with what I used to say, because I know for a fact that what I'm doing, it comes from genuine intention and it aligns with the long-term vision that I have. And I really have that very grounded, trusting position in myself and in whatever work it is that I'm doing. So that's all that I have for you today. I hope that this episode is able to kind of reassure you that if you are stuck in an imposter syndrome mode right now, and if you are doubting yourself a lot right now, you can definitely still get out of it. Just slow down, trust yourself, and learn to trust yourself even more from there. All the best in whatever it is that you are doing, and I'll see you in my next episode. Goodbye.